right, welcome everyone. We'll call this meeting to order. Madam Clerk, please take roll call.
All right, Mr. Combs?
Present.
Mr. Luther?
Present.
Ms. Nelson?
Present.
Ms. Reclue?
Present.
Ms. Sabacher?
Here.
Mr. Stone?
Present.
Mr. Washington? And Mr. West.
Present.
7 council members present and 1 absent.
All right, this time, if you would join me, Pastor Williamson is here to lead us in invocation.
Father in heaven, I want to put first things first tonight and remember 2 human tragedies in our nation from yesterday. One is the tremendous loss of life in San Antonio. The officials are still sorting that out, and I pray, Lord, for the deceased and their families and the emergency services that will work for days trying to bring that house back in order. The second is right here in our state up in Sheridan County. Again, Lord, a devastating accident with many, many injured and some deceased. In both cases, I'm really proud of mutual aid. The state of Missouri, clear down to Columbia and Jefferson City, provided resources and helped move these patients into hospitals where they could have remedial care. And it makes me proud to see people working together beyond their own network. It's the nature of our people to help each other, and I am grateful to live even in a community that does that every day. Much closer to home tonight, Lord, I want to honor our city workers who are on the streets every day in this intense heat. That would include our police officers and firefighters and all of those, Lord, who are working this infrastructure and keeping our parks and facilities maintained and mowed. That's intense work when it's been as hot as it's been some days here in the last 2 or 3 weeks. I'm grateful, and I want to honor their service to our community tonight. For our mayor and council persons and all of those who lead this city in every department and everyone who wears our uniform and insignia, we are grateful for their work and service. We pray tonight in this session that all discussions that are held and any decisions that are made, that they first be pleasing to you. And I thank you for the community that is here to share in this session. Community support and participation is vital to the work of our government and our community. I pray for the city family and for any and all within it who need comfort, who need healing, who need respite care, and just need encouraged day to day. For this, all of us collectively are grateful. Guide and direct our personal lives and help each one of us to be a good neighbor, and through your love, continue to pray and love each other. We pray this in your name. Amen. Amen. Face the flag. Attention, salute, and pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor.
Privilege, sir.
Okay, at this time we have comments from visitors. If you would like to speak to the council, step to the podium, give us your name and address, and keep your comments to 5 minutes or less, please. And seeing no one come forward, we'll move on. Next up, we have our approval of the consent agenda. Council members may choose to remove an item for discussion prior to approving the agenda. Tonight we have several items. We have council meeting minutes of April 26th, May 10th, May 24th, June 14th, and the approval of the Director of Administration report of May 2022. And I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to remove the Director of Administration report from the consent agenda,
Very good.
and I'll make a motion to approve the remainder of the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
And opposed, no. All right, Director of Administration report. Let's dig right in. Go ahead, Mr. West.
Okay. quite a few items. First of all, there's no page number, so you'll have to bear with me here.
Okay.
Got missed this time, I think. Let's see, it's about page 7.
Okay.
Planning and Protective Services. New commercial, $3,750,000. What is that? The middle school? Okay, thank you. Quite an investment there, okay. And then 2 pages following, workman's comp claims. The last 2 resulted from use of equipment and a fall through a ceiling.
Yeah, I've seen that.
What's that about?
Is that one mine? We had a,
Without going into a lot of details.
yeah, we had a report of a potential trespass person in the ceiling of one of my housing complexes, and an officer went into the ceiling to try to alleviate that, and subsequently fell through the ceiling.
Okay.
Luckily, that officer is not injured, just stood up and walked away. So, it's very fortunate. I'm going to be honest with you, I don't remember what the use of equipment issue was.
Okay, so
But I
y'all-
can look that up and email you all that later.
if you wouldn't mind, I appreciate that.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. It just, when I see something like that, I get concerned. Of course, I know some of our folks, police officers, fire personnel, get into harm's way a lot in order to protect the rest of us. So I was concerned about that, so it was a police officer in the one case, so.
And housing didn't file a claim against the city, so that was just medical license.
It's a record only.
Okay, good. And I worry about personnel safety as well, everybody. I want everybody out there going home at least as well as they came in. And then,
Just to add to that, Mike, I mean, obviously the people are the greatest asset, so is there anything we can learn from these events going forward?
Right.
Especially the equipment issue, I was curious about as well, what can we learn from this event to maybe communicate to the rest of our people, as far as trying to prevent something similar in the future, so
right,
thanks for bringing that up.
thanks. And then, I don't know,
Excuse me,
huh?
Mr. West, I can give you the information.
Okay,
Okay, so the employee was using a grinder with a broken guard and cut/scraped his left index, well, his or her left index finger. The guard will be fixed, and I think we talked about the ceiling. So that's what it was.
okay. So stress with our people not to use equipment that doesn't have its safety equipment
Right.
in place.
Right.
That's what we would say out there, so out the plant, right, Fred? So, thank you for that update.
You're welcome.
And I hope it wasn't too serious an injury. And then I would like to request that these tables in Parks and Rec in the future be broken up somehow, so it may be made landscape or something, because this is very fine print
That's what I'm just
for
going
my
to
old eyes.
say. That, me
So,
too,
but
much larger.
then, let's see, under engineering and streets, transportation alternative program grant, and planning on applying for pedestrian crosswalk beacons and sidewalks/trail by high school. We are interested in hearing thoughts and ideas from the council on the use of this grant. So what are we asking from the
Right.
council?
So this is part of actually, parts of the grants are generated from Councilman Luther's request to try to get crosswalks that are flashing.
Sure.
Because the minimum on the grant is $200,000, we're trying to take advantage of upgrading throughout the city. So some of the other types of street apparatus that we might want to use would help people who are vision impaired, the ones at church. I believe we have some of those in some areas of the city,
Okay.
as well as there are also, and I'm not, Kyle can come up, I'm not going to call it the correct name, there's a name for it, but there are also some that are good for people who are visually impaired as well. So hearing impaired, visually impaired, but again, to help make the city safer as far as for pedestrians is concerned. So we are open to ideas
Okay.
that you all might have seen in other places to help incorporate this. But Councilman Luther, this is spearheaded by your idea or your request.
Around the schools is probably a good place to start, you know, because that's, you know, where
Schools,
young
and we do
people-
have some other corners around,
Sure.
around town.
Okay.
Just to go further with what Renee has described, this Transportation Alternative Program grant, this is, we're actually using this grant for the Business 54 sidewalk project. So there is every couple years, this grant comes up. Actually, this year, it's back-to-back years. There's a little bit more money in it this time around. So hopefully, the way it typically goes, we've got it last time, so we might not get it this time, but with the infusion of federal money, there is more opportunity this year. So we're just always looking for ideas, and you know, Councilman Luther and Combs, actually, it's a combo of two ideas. One is those traffic beacons, crosswalk beacons, kind of mid-block crossings by the schools, whether it be Westminster or the elementary schools or William Woods. Downtown, we've got a mid-block crossing right between 5th and 6th. But the other thoughts is, and this is what Councilman Combs suggested, was that the traffic lights out here at 4th and 5th, there is no buttons to activate the crosswalks.
Glad you brought that up.
And so, you know, for me, at least at this point in my life, it's not a big deal. But, you know, at some point in my life, it may be a big deal to have that accessibility, to be able to push a button, to be able to hear it and use my other senses like others have to. So adding those qualities to our infrastructure was a need we thought fit this grant exactly. And so that was the idea, but we're always looking for other ones.
Kyle, is this also the grant where we were discussing the different foundation for the bricks? We had discussed a couple of years ago about it.
That was a different one.
Okay.
That was the build grant. There was a lot more money involved in that one, but
I
this
just remember
the max is
transportation issue, the
right.
connection.
Right. This one is really on alternative transportation, so it's not really centered around cars. The piece that it's paying for up there on Business 54 is specifically the sidewalks, and we have other monies going toward the road elements. So,
Okay, thank you.
yeah, any alternative transportation, walking, biking, you know, trails would qualify. So, those type of
Great.
things.
While we're on that, well, since you mentioned trails, you might take a look at the walking trail between the YMCA and the high school. It's starting to look kind of weathered. to be
Right.
kind of-
Another,
A lot of cracks in it.
right, another idea that Clay and I talked about was an expansion of that trail, and we've also, Councilman Washington brought up a section of town, Knollwood and Crestwood up there, that doesn't have sidewalks, that may be a potential spot. So that's just kind of our suggestion. Hey, if you have an idea, make sure you're bringing it up.
Is this something that the neighborhood would qualify for, that we had talked about at the last council meeting? I know that they had said that they didn't have sidewalks there, and we were talking about maybe doing speed bumps. Is that something that would qualify in this?
Their trash, yes. What area was that?
Probably,
Bradley.
the speed bump on Bradley, is that what you're talking about? That would probably, the speed bump itself wouldn't qualify, but sidewalks would potentially qualify. What scores the highest is anything that's around a school or a heavily populated area, you know, like downtown. You know, that's why that 4th Street and 5th Street, anywhere where there's heavy walking traffic and infrastructure like City Hall and buildings like City Hall and the courthouse and whatnot. So, but it's competitive, so trying to check those boxes off. Anywhere that like up there at Business 54, we bragged about, McIntyre School being down there and, tying that in, so.
Discuss the cooperative sidewalk work at the middle school. That was the discussion on one of the reports here. Is there something going on there with sidewalks at the middle school? Or?
I think I said the wrong school, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Spouting off
So-
Bartley. But,
Oh, it is the middle school.
go ahead.
No, I just wonder what's going on there at I guess the middle school is what it says there.
Oh, the middle school. So the middle school, they're doing some renovation and some sidewalk work with that renovation. And there was a section of sidewalk between their parking lot and the sidewalk that we redid on 10th Street that wasn't going to be redone. So, in talking with them, I said it'd be nice to have that nice walkway,
Yes.
Down to that new 10th Street. So we're going to do a material labor split on that.
Oh, okay.
On that same page, you may know that still working on the drainage work at you say Lutheran Church, St. Paul's Lutheran Church, and I appreciate the continued effort there. Ms. Tyler and I communicated a little bit today about that one and some other things. So I think, storm drainage throughout the city probably needs a needs assessment so we can prioritize and figure out where we're going to go. Because as I look around, I notice more and more things. It's just, in the case of behind the one business up there, I don't want to mention, but someone brought that to me, I wasn't even aware of it. So thank you for that continued. And I'd like updates every now and then on that, where we are on that project.
Okay. All right, will do.
Church, please. I think it'll really beautify that area. Thank you. I have more, if I may. Mr. Dunlap, you have several pages here that I wondered if you wanted to explain a little bit.
Yes, sir.
Well, it starts with a little circle. I'm not sure what that graph is showing me.
Okay, well, we do receive some power from the hydro dams of Southwestern Power Administration.
Okay.
And due to all the rains in southwest Missouri and actually all parts of Missouri in the early spring, everything is in the flood pool. So we're receiving supplemental energy from those projects, which is above what we would get by contract, which is about $23 power.
Oh, good.
So it's really cheap power.
It's relatively cheap, yeah.
So everything's in the flood pool, and the Corps of Engineers in Southwestern try to run it through the turbines instead of spilling it off.
So when you say it's in the flood pool, you mean everything's full, so it's
yeah, there's
available?
several different pools in those lakes. One's a conservation pool where nothing comes out, and then you have the drinking water, and you have recreation, then you have the power pool, then you have the flood pool.
Okay.
So we're in the upper flood pool right now. So it's a little high for recreation on most of those lakes. So that's being pulled down, and we're receiving extra power because of that
Good.
water.
Good. And then you've got the MISO here on June the 13th, it looks like.
Yeah, that was the power prices in MISO for that hour. And there was some hours even higher than that. I mean, you're seeing Indiana Hub at 756. The city's turbine was running that day against the market, and it did very well, performed well. Our prices, when we averaged the gas price of what it took to deliver it and produce power, was just under about $168 a megawatt is what the plant was. But a lot of that was on $10 gas delivered, and we got daily prices from IMGA. And we set a strike price with TEA that if prices was above 175 on the day-ahead market, don't buy 11. And we was using that as like a must-run or self-supply. And then we watched the real-time price. If the real-time price during the day was lower than that, the plant didn't run. So we tried to do a triple play on it.
So we were doing this for ourselves, or MISO was asking us to do
We
it?
did this for ourselves.
So what, so to,
We was using our turbine plant as a physical hedge against the market.
so we were just trying to provide power to ourselves, or we were selling it out on the market?
We was selling some of it on the market.
Awesome, okay, so that helps, the bottom line, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Then how about the next
I think
page?
that's a interesting topic for another time for us to tour that plant. like we
Yeah, right.
offered.
Mm-hmm,
And this is a great glimpse of kind of what happens day to day out there at that plant.
right,
There's always strategic maneuvering to put ourselves in the best position.
yeah.
Shows
And
the diligence of our staff.
And I appreciate the staff doing that, you know,
Yep.
getting $10 gas and turning it
Yeah.
around to $168.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, that next graph is just showing that day-ahead price compared to last year, the day-ahead price between April and June, and you can see how much higher it is, and a lot of that is due to natural gas prices and then coal deliveries to the coal plants. The rail system is having a hard time getting drivers, or conductors, whatever you call them, train drivers.
Really?
So Sykeston's down to 1 train instead of 2, and Plum Point's down to 3 instead of 4, so you take natural gas and coal, that's still the majority of the energy in this region of the country.
Okay. And then this other one is just telling us the definitions and stuff?
That's the definition, that's the different definitions of alerts that MISO puts out.
Okay,
And, you know, when you get, we never got to alert 2, which, you know, it's getting pretty, they're worried about meeting the load when they get to 2.
okay.
The other alerts are saying, don't take nothing out of service, keep everything running, don't do any unnecessary maintenance.
So those really hot and humid days, we start pushing.
Yes.
Yep.
Depending on how widespread it is, right? So, okay,
Okay, that's it.
great. All right, that's all I had, I think.
Is that a regional thing for not just the city of Fulton, but all the?
That's all the Midwest, basically. And some of those real hot days, the wind was predicted to come in at X amount, and it didn't show up. So that put an extra strain on everything.
Okay. Good, those sunny days are good for solar power, right? But
Yeah.
the other stuff's
Rest-
not so much.
There was a lot in this packet this month, and I appreciate the work that went into this.
Yes.
Everybody's trying to get a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
cohesive, and I know that's not by accident, so we do appreciate the effort.
I appreciate the education, because.
I do too. I do too.
I don't work in this every day.
Yeah, I don't.
There's a class 1 leak, we had 2. One didn't have a good locate, but mowing contractor hit a meter and no locate was called in. I don't know why a mower would call in a locate.
The mower wouldn't.
Okay. So what, they weren't doing anything odd,
No,
digging or
they
anything?
just hit the gas meter on the side of the building.
I have to be more careful around that, I guess. And I have one last one, it's under police department.
That's where I'm at too.
These medical alert stickers.
Yeah.
Really like to see us publicize those. And it says, you know, these are placed on our social media for citizens to pick up from the department. What if somebody can't get, will we mail them out or anything like that if someone isn't physically able to get to the
We could
police
either mail
department?
them out, or we would deliver those.
Okay,
That's not a problem.
okay. That's what I would ask, you know, that we, I mean, I think it's great we've got those and they're available, but some people may not be able to get to the department to get them, so.
We will republicize that and make sure that anybody that wants one that can't get in, we will get those to them without fail.
Yeah, put it in the newsletter, put it, you know, publicize it
Sure.
a lot, you know, so, great. Thank you for that service, that's wonderful. And that's all I had, sir and ma'am. Thank you very much.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Good.
Great report, it's just a lot
It
of,
is.
lot of
Lot of
little
I
information.
questions.
apologize about the lack of page numbers. You got excited. I missed that. Everybody missed the page. Next time.
Okay.
Page numbers and bigger print.
Oh, that print, I
I know.
I have purpose, yeah.
If no one else has anything, I'll move for acceptance of the DOA report.
I'll second.
Is there anyone else that would like to ask any questions on the DOA report?
There should be.
All right. Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. All right. Next up, we have our presentation and acceptance of our May financial statement. Ms. Holschlag, if you would run this down for us.
Well, we've now recorded 4 months of sales tax, and we are up 2.7% higher than the same period last year. But our big gain has been on use tax. And let me back up a little. The 2.7% amounts to approximately $40,000. So, but the use tax is up 21%, which is somewhat unbelievable. That's about $35,000. And I think that is more than likely attributable to the fact that a lot of people got into the habit of shopping online during the pandemic, and I think the gas prices are making people think twice about running to the store when they can just push that button at home. And other than that, there's not a lot going on, in large part because materials are so slow to come in. You know, we're still having a very difficult time getting supplies and materials. The total of all of our operating funds are in the black, month to date and year to date. Individual ones are in the red, so which you can see on the report. And I'd answer any questions you have.
You talk about the comparison from now to kind of same time from last year. Last year was an off normal year due to the pandemic and stuff. Have you?
I think 20 was really the off year. Yeah, 20 was.
Look back multiple years, just kind of see.
I don't look at 20 because it was bizarre.
It was a nightmare.
Yeah, it's considerably more than 2019. Yeah, it's up quite a bit, because typically every year we gain on sales tax.
How much of this you think is attributable to inflation?
Well, I think I read the other day, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought they said to date inflation was around 8.4, 8.5%. So on sales tax, if you take that into account, we're not ahead.
Right.
Obviously, on use tax, we are. And keep in mind, based on the projections that MML originally gave us for what they anticipated our use tax would be, we far exceeded that last year. And it looks as if we will again this year. So that's turned out to be a very good source of revenue for us.
And that is on computer sales and on vehicles, or?
No, vehicles are, that does not include vehicle sales tax.
Okay,
That's for online purchases made.
okay. And that is earmarked for police and fire, correct?
The first 200,000.
The- Yeah.
I'm sorry?
The first 200,000.
Okay.
Goes
Yep.
to the, yeah.
And then the rest of it goes to general revenue?
Yep.
Awesome, okay.
Yeah.
Great.
And it's much more than 200,000.
Okay, good.
All right, thank you very much. Any other questions? All right, we do have a motion, is that right? Or no?
We actually do not.
I'll make a motion that we accept the May 2022 financial statement.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
And opposed, no. All right, thank you. Tonight, Mr. Caswell is not here, so Renee will give us an update on Legends Rec Flags.
Okay, so during the Legends update, we had the MSD prom, the Mother-Son Day of Fun. There were 44 participants. Our fitness classes have been going strong. We have Zumba and yoga. The Fulton High School Special Olympic Field Day was held at the Recplex. The Callaway Cornhole League was out there. We hosted our city employee appreciation dinner. We also hosted the mayor's prayer breakfast. Fulton High School seniors had their all-night party. They had 150 people. Tiny Tykes Sports Night had 24 participants. We have men's basketball league was going on. There were 10 teams participating. And youth tumbling had 13 participants. Revenue was steady and slightly above average for the year at $21,418. Attendance was down slightly from the previous month. So that is the update that I have for that.
Very good. And I don't mean to put you on the spot. Have you heard anything about our employee participation for the Recplex?
I have not yet. I did go out there and I was talking to them, just giving them a heads up. I feel that we'll probably see, hopefully, more folks start, effective July 1st. But
Is that what, that's when it takes effect?
It's in effect now.
it's in effect now, but
Right. I think we need to get the word out a little
Yeah.
more robustly.
we sent it out, but
Yeah.
I think we need to put some flyers out and just let people know that this is a employee perk that we have. So hopefully I will be able to, or Clay will be able to give a more robust update on folks participating at Regents.
Awesome. Yes, sir.
Are we making any progress with the Wi-Fi and the HVAC? I think that was noted.
The elevator.
Mr.
I'm not trying to
Boone,
put you on the
have you
spot.
heard any on that?
Is it?
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Good.
Good. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I'm not sure how you get around the noise, but,
Yeah, all,
all right, thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. Next up, we have representatives from Williams Keepers. They're here to present our 2021 audit.
Sorry, I'm a year ahead.
That's okay.
It's my honor to present Amanda Schultz, who is a partner at Williams Keepers, and Kristen Brown, who was the supervisor on our audit this year.
Thank you for that introduction, Kathy, and thank you all for having us this evening. We certainly appreciate the opportunity to perform the audit as well as to present our summary report. This report just hits the highlights of the individual reports that we issued as a result of our audit of the city's financial statements as of and for the year that ended December 31st, 2021. So we'll dive right into our summary report. The first report that we issued is the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, also referred to as the ACFR. The preparation of this report is a sign of excellence in financial reporting, as it contains substantially more information than that required by generally accepted accounting principles, or GAAP. So in addition to the financial section, which is the only GAAP requirement and is the focus of our presentation, this report also includes introductory and statistical sections, so it's quite a lengthy document. Because the preparation of this report is a sign of excellence in financial reporting, the Government Finance Officers Association, or the GFOA, does award a certificate to entities who submit, and ultimately the GFOA reviews and approves these reports. The city received this award for the 23rd consecutive year on its 2020 report and anticipates it'll receive it again on this 2021 report. So as I mentioned earlier, the financial section of the report is really the focus of our presentation. This evening, it was certainly the focus of our financial statement audit. So the city's ACFR contains the annual financial statements as of and for the year ended December 31st, 2021, along with our report on those financial statements. We issued an unmodified or a clean opinion on the financial statements, which means that in our opinion, those financial statements are presented fairly in all material respects in conformity with GAAP, or generally accepted accounting principles. Management is ultimately responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of the financial statements. We did prepare them again this year. It is a common practice for us as independent auditors to do so, but they were reviewed and approved by management before they were issued just last week. We used our judgment in determining how to audit the city again this year. We performed a risk assessment process by looking at balances, transactions, processes, and controls. And we focused our attention on areas where the financial statements could be misstated. This means that we did not audit every balance or every transaction, but we did enough work in order to be able to give that unmodified or clean opinion on the financial statements again this year. Moving to page 2 of the summary report, the financial statements themselves do include 2 different sets of financial statements, so there's quite a bit of information contained in them. The government-wide financial statements, those are the first set of financial statements presented. Those are full accrual, and they include all of the city's funds, as well as capital assets, long-term debt, any other liabilities the city may have. And then the fund financial statements, they go into a little bit more detail, and those are separated into the city's governmental and proprietary funds. There is a summarized table in this summary report that really just hits the highlights from those government-wide financial statements, which puts everything together for the cities. All the city's funds are represented in those statements. As of and for the year ended December 31st, 2021, with some comparative information for 2020. There is a management's discussion and analysis on pages 4 through 11 of that ACFR that really goes into detail in discussing the changes in the various categories. But at a very high level, as of December 31st, 2021, the city's total net position or equity was approximately $93.7 million. And of that, approximately $6.8 million was unrestricted, which can be used by the city to meet its obligations to citizens and creditors. For the year that ended December 31st, 2021, the total change in net position, net income or net loss, if you will, was a small net loss of about $40,000. If you go into the actual financial statements themselves, you'll see that the city's net position from governmental activities actually increased by about $2.1 million during 2021, but that was offset by about a $2.1 million decrease in the city's net position from business-type activities or those utility funds. So I know I went over that at a very high level. Again, there is quite a bit more detail in that management's discussion and analysis, as well as in the notes that support the financial statements in that ACFR. But are there any questions at this point about the financial statements, the audit process in general, anything like that?
I have a question.
Sure.
On page 3 of this summary,
Yeah.
you had 2 highlights here. Wait a minute, is that what I'm looking for?
Yeah,
And she's still on page 2.
I'm still
Okay, oh, I
on
thought-
page 2,
I
so
thought
if you
you
can
were-
hold on just
yeah, I
one
thought you
moment,
were
I'll turn it
finished.
over
Okay,
to
I'm sorry.
Kristen.
Yeah,
No,
sure,
you're
sure.
fine. I'll turn it over to Kristen, and she'll cover those reports and hopefully answer your question.
Well, on
But-
page 2 then, since you're
Okay,
there.
yeah.
Down at the bottom, the governmental accounting stance, I'm not sure what these 2 bullets mean.
Sure.
The
And
conduit
Kristen,
debt obligations.
yeah, Kristen will go into those in a little bit of detail, but at a very high level, the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, that is the governing body that promulgates GAAP, or generally accepted accounting principles, for state and local governments. So the city follows governmental accounting standards. And there was a new statement, 87, that dealt with leases that the city was required to implement this year. GASB Statement 89 dealt with how interest costs are accounted for during a construction period, really did not have any impact on the city's financial statements. And then GASB 91 will be effective next year, and it really just deals with the disclosures of conduit debt obligations. So in situations where the city may serve as a conduit debt obligor, where they really are not obligated for repaying any debt, but they kind of act as a conduit for third parties to obtain debt, this standard will require just additional disclosures about those transactions next year.
Can you give me an example of what a conduit debt would be?
Yeah.
I believe that the city, at this time, do you participate in industrial revenue bond issuances? Yeah, Chapter 100 revenue bonds. Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, well, if they're paid off by next year, they will not be disclosed in subsequent, or they won't fall under this standard. But yeah, it's really just when a governmental entity facilitates the issuance of debt without being obligated to repay the debt.
Okay.
Yeah. But great
Thank
question.
you. Sorry, I thought you were finished. I'm like, wait a minute.
No, you're fine. I was about to turn it over to Kristen to cover our other reports. So any other questions about the financial statements?
Thank you very much.
All right, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Good evening, everyone. I will be covering the auditor's communication letter first.
So this is a separate letter that consists of comments about the audit process and its results, which are required under our professional standards to be communicated to an audit or a similar committee. So the City Council serves this role for the City of Fulton. So a few highlights. We noted no transactions that we considered both unusual and significant. I will go through these accounting standards in a little bit more detail. So GASB 87 related to leases. Kathy actually decided to early implement this standard this year. So there were several leases that were new this year, so she just decided to early implement this. And this standard requires recognition of certain lease assets and liabilities for leases that were previously classified as operating leases. So an operating lease is now considered a financing lease, and some examples of those were the cardio equipment at the Recplex and the golf carts and various golf equipment at the golf course. So more information on these financing leases can be found in footnote 9 of the financial statements, and the related asset activity can be found in footnote 8. It also renamed capital leases to finance purchases, and these finance purchases are the Recplex as well as the public facilities complex. And more information on these finance purchases can be found in footnote 10. Again, GASB Statement 89 was implemented this year, but did not have a material impact on the city's financial statements. And then again, GASB Statement 91 will be effective for 2022. So we also evaluated key factors and assumptions used to develop any significant estimates in the financial statements and determined that they were reasonable in relation to the financial statements taken as a whole. And the financial statement disclosures are also neutral, consistent, and clear. We also found the accounting records were in good order, and we did not propose any significant audit adjustments as a result of our procedures. We also had no disagreements with management on accounting or auditing issues, as well as no difficulties in performing our audit. We received full cooperation from the city staff, Kathy, and everyone that worked alongside her to get prepared for the audit. Any questions on the auditor's communication letter? Again, the full letter should be included in your board packet for you to take a look at. Okay, moving on to the management letter. So this letter is used to communicate any findings that we may have about the city's internal controls and certain other matters that we feel are important enough to warrant your attention. So the scope of our engagement is not directed towards an opinion on the adequacy of internal control, but we do consider internal control as a basis for designing our audit procedures. So given these limitations, we did not identify any material weaknesses in internal control, which is a great thing. We did note one matter that does involve internal control that we feel important enough to warrant your attention, a recommendation related to enhancing the internal control with the municipal garage fund. So this is actually a consistent comment that we've had in previous years. So the municipal garage fund has a deficit in net position of approximately $1.3 million. So this is an internal service fund and should essentially break even or get close to breaking even every year. So our recommendation is just considering increasing charges to the other cities to increase the revenue in that municipal garage fund and decrease the deficit in that net position. Any questions related to that? Okay. The final report I'll cover is the report for MIRMA. So we also issue a report on the schedule of payroll reportable to MIRMA for the year ended December 31st, 2021, and this is in compliance with the requirements of the Missouri Intergovernmental Risk Management Association. And that report should also be included in your board packet. We'd be happy to entertain any questions about the financial statements, any of these reports, or the audit process in general.
There's a lot to go through. We appreciate your all's work. I know it's something you have to do every year and you get paid to do it, but it's thoroughly done and very professionally done. And I would add that for anyone watching, that this is open to the public. These financial records are also on our website. There'll be, I don't know if this one will be posted, immediately, but yeah, so tomorrow even, so
Okay.
very good. Yeah, so if you ever want some bedtime reading, go on our website.
Oh, yeah.
Pull that up, so,
Well, thank you again. We're happy to be of service.
thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. All right, next up, we have our presentation of the
And
20...
I am so sorry, I
Oh,
mean to
yes.
interrupt, we do need a motion and a second to accept the audit.
Somebody else's turn.
Move to accept the audit as presented.
Second?
Thank
Have a
you.
motion and a second. Any discussion on that? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
And opposed, no. All righty, thank you, Mayor. And we do have next up our capital budget for 2023. This is very initial start to it here, but yeah, Renee or Robert wants to kind of give us a rundown on this. Again, this is a big packet, a lot there to start with, and we've got time to dig into it.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is, a charter requirement, and so what I describe this as is we give the department heads the ability to make their capital request on what they think they need to do, for the year, and what they think they need and what they would like to do. Let me put it that way. And we put that in a packet, pull it together, and like I said, the charter requires us to report that to the council. So we look at this as just a first draft of our operating budget that we'll present to the council later in October for you to review and work with us on that as well. But it is a rough draft. I'm hoping that my spell check worked pretty good on it and my math worked pretty good, but there will be some changes. There are already some changes by the time I printed this. I've talked to some of the departments, gas and electric and stuff like that, and things are already in motion to change. And I know that some of the department heads have probably even talked to Ms. Tyler on what they would like to see and other things that come into play, whether grant money comes in, whether we can apply for some grants and stuff like that maybe changes these numbers. That's all I have for you. Any questions? And obviously, yeah, this is for you to take home, look at, peruse, and then contact your director of administration and have us track stuff down.
Yeah, and as we get into this, I know there'll be some questions, so by all means, we'll have answers for you. We're, do our best to dig into some of these things.
This is her first one too, so she's grinding through it pretty good.
Yep.
I do have one question. I was able to kind of read this beforehand with regards to the fire department.
Mhm.
There is a replace, repair roof at Station 2, estimated cost of $15,000. And then the subsequent explanation, I believe, is related to the fire hose replacement. So there's no real explanation on the replace, repair roof at Station 2. So if you could add that or maybe send that to us, just kind of a little more information.
Why they need it repaired?
Yeah, just kind of what's going on. There's just nothing there. It just says they need 15,000. What's going on with that?
Okay.
Yeah.
So there is a description underneath.
I don't,
Maybe I have the,
I don't have that.
maybe have the cliff notes. Okay.
It says
So-
fire hose is tested every
Yeah.
year.
Right, oh, okay, so, okay.
Doesn't seem to me,
So
that needs to be
basically,
the next thing, I
The
think.
nozzle replacement, our nozzles have been in service for over 20 years.
Yep.
And they are failing.
Yep.
The nozzles need to be replaced due to the lack of reliability. That's the $3,000. And then The next one, I think you're talking about for the 15,000 is the replacement, repair of the roof at Station 2.
The description talks about fire hoses.
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
I apologize, I don't know,
Yeah, man.
yeah, I think that's a typo.
Blur those
Okay.
together.
So,
Oops.
we will
Just
get
an
you.
email or something,
Yeah,
just
no.
to kind of what's going on with that.
Yeah, thank you for pointing that out.
Sure.
And there's going to be lots more cuts and additions to this, changes. But it doesn't mean we can't ask questions anytime.
Right.
Feel free to
Exactly,
do
and
so.
it's, like I said, we consider it a draft, and it will be,
Lots of changes.
yeah, have modifications and maybe even additions, and obviously maybe even some deletions.
So this will be prepared and sent back to us for final submission in October.
Yes,
Okay.
it becomes part of the operational budget, so.
How many
you'll
times
have-
will we see this before then?
That's a good question. That's a good question. I think last year,
How big? Yeah.
we had a couple of work sessions that
Yeah, we did.
the council got to review it and tweak it and make recommendations.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Well,
definitely.
historically, I think we just see the capital budget once and then until we
Yeah.
get the proposed budget,
Yeah.
right?
Correct, yeah, it's incorporated into the operation.
This is kind of the wish
This
list,
is
right?
right.
This
This
is
is
what I
the
want
wish
from
list.
Santa this year.
Exactly right.
They haven't even gotten my dissection. So,
Right.
yeah, so this is the wish list.
It's a wish list.
It's a wish list.
But I think it says required by the charter.
Yep.
Very good.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, next up, council concerns. Council members may discuss matters or concerns not on the agenda. Council liaisons to city boards and commissions will also provide a brief review of the most recent meeting. We'll go down the list. First up, Councilman West.
Okay, as far as the Planning and Zoning Commission goes, there was nothing to report. We haven't met since the last meeting. I was not at the last meeting. I was listening in, but sometimes you have things come up that you can't schedule.
Sure.
So I was not able to attend, but I was watching and listening. But one of the things that was discussed was fireworks for this year. And I think something for us to consider on that. I love fireworks, okay, so take this the right way. I think in order to encourage community involvement with that, we should budget some amount, $10,000 or $15,000. I don't remember what you guys did last meeting, how much it was, but I would say that we propose in the future we do that as a matching fund thing. So if community raises $8,000, we give $8,000 to double it, right? Up to some number. I mean, whatever number we come up with in the budget. That's just a thought that occurred to me. We can talk about it more at budget time. And that's all I have.
Very good. And I'll tell you, we gave 2,500.
How many?
2,500.
4,500?
25.
2,500.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did a really good job this year.
Oh, they
They
did.
didn't ask for a whole lot.
Yeah,
All right, Councilwoman Seebacher.
thank you.
I have no concerns. I do have some information from the park board. We held a meeting on June 15th. Renee gave us kind of a rundown on the Recplex as far as an update, but at the meeting, we did discuss the nominations for the Wall of Legends. That's something that Clay is continuing to work on, and he hopes to bring that back to the council relatively soon for approval on who they intend to place on the wall. Let's see, we mentioned, or he mentioned, that facility rentals were starting to increase, and they were introducing a wide variety of activities in addition to what we already have. He gave us an update on an after-school program. I guess the Fulton Public School District has decided to eliminate their backpack before and after-school program, and he and Clay met to discuss kind of what that looks like for the city, and getting the Recplex involved with some sort of, not necessarily a morning program, but an after-school program, just some place for the kids to go and sort of replicate what they had with the backpack program. So that's something that's in the works as well. And we discussed at length fee waivers for veterans using veterans facilities. I think right now we're at 20%, is that right, Renee? 20%
That's
discount
correct.
for all facilities with proof of being a veteran. After that, it was just splash pad talk. We had a lot of splash pad talk, and I did reach out to Renee regarding the splash pad being down, and she told me that the part is expected to arrive next week. Hopefully.
Hopefully,
I
yeah.
think we're all kind of at the mercy of distributors and shipping delays and things of that nature.
That's
So, and she did mention as well that that information is put out on our social media platforms. So if you have any questions, obviously we can check those for updates. And then after that, we were done. So we had a pretty good meeting. And I do have minutes if anybody wants to read them in a little more detail as well.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Very good.
All right, next is Councilwoman Recluse.
Yes, we did not have a traffic meeting since our last meeting. So we're tearing up the town right now, so you can see what's going on with the streets. Kyle and all the bunch, they're busy. They're out there busy, and I appreciate them, what they're doing. It's just, they're doing a wonderful job. And be patient. It's going to be awesome when it's finished. Basically, we're scheduling a meeting, hopefully within the next couple of weeks, and I have nothing else, except thank you to the guys that are out there fixing the streets.
Very good, thank you. All right, next up, Councilman Stone.
Yes, the Historic Preservation Commission met last Tuesday, the 21st. We did not have a quorum, so there was no voting or any moving forward of any specific items, but there was continued discussion on the wall around the beehive kiln. And the members of the Historic Preservation Commission, they're very used to being very, very frugal. They're struggling with the request of, tell us what you want, and then we can put it out for bid and see how much it costs and see what we can do. They're really struggling with that, making a wish list. And so I know there's lots of discussion going back and forth. There was pictures of 3 different designs, and we discussed those. And I think really what they're interested in is getting some feedback from, I think it's Kyle's group, that will let them know there's some piles of bricks that are available to be used as part of the fencing, and that's what they want, is how can we incorporate some of the bricks that are available and minimize the cost on it. And so that's going back and forth. So there's not yet a presentation of the specs for the RFP for that wall. They're looking for information and guidance and just a little bit of assistance in getting there. And that was really the entire conversation with the Preservation Commission. The one item that they did bring up is that they were very pleased with the city's and the citizens' response to Historic Preservation Month and all the yard signs that went out. They don't believe from the count that we lost any signs during the month, meaning, nobody walked off with them, there was no destruction of the signs, so that showed them, or told the commission that there was just a whole lot of respect for that process that they went through, that we were able to identify those properties and that there was respect given to those signs and lots of attention given to those properties. Council concerns, just 2 thank yous. We had an amazing Juneteenth celebration. I know a lot of city employees were involved in that, both the planning and the day of, and that was just an excellent celebration that day. And then we pulled off another wonderful street fair, again with lots of assistance and input and planning and all of that from the city. So just thank you to all the city employees, police department, fire department, and just everybody that was involved in that. And then a thank you to the engineering office with the 2nd Street detours. With the 1st Street between Business 54 and Ravine is getting a lot of use. And there's actually 2 areas where it appears that the road is not holding up its side of the bargain for all of the traffic. We're getting a little bit of sinkage in a couple of spots. And I came in, I mentioned it to the engineering department, just asked them to look at it sometime, and they followed me out the door to immediately respond and go look at it. So that was,
Excellent.
that's all I had.
Very good. Thank you, sir. All right, next up, Councilman Luther.
Thank you. There has been no airport advisory board since our last meeting. I do continue to work with Renee and the team on trying to acquire a courtesy car for the airport. So we are still researching that and what our options are to support that effort there. I would like to say thank you to the team as well as our continued pursuit and efforts on getting the flashing crosswalks. I believe I can speak for especially my constituents and the Bartley school walkers, how appreciative they would be in getting some of those flashing crosswalks. There's definitely some dangerous situations with that business 54, so thank you for continuing to look into that. I did think of one, thing to bring up, when it rains, Kyle, on Business 54, the south school zone flashing light, just north of Reed Street, on the east side, so going north, that actually holds a lot of water. For some reason, the water stays in the road, so it could be a concern for hydroplane during the heavy rains. So maybe it's something if we can, I don't know how far that road project goes through there when we do the sidewalks in that area, but maybe that's something we can look at, try to recontour that section of road during one of our road projects.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up, Councilman Combs.
I'll kind of just echo what Jeff mentioned earlier with the Human Rights Commission. We haven't met since then, but we did have the Juneteenth thing, celebration, and it went out pretty well. A lot of community involvement, a lot of city involvement, so I was pleased with the way that turned out. But outside that, I don't have any concerns tonight.
Yeah, what do we have, 175 people show up for that, so that was pretty cool for the first year, and that should just keep getting bigger and better, so. Yeah. Thank you for pointing that out. Councilman Washington is not here tonight, so we will move on to Councilwoman Nelson.
Yes. I have a couple of things. I just wanted to say how excited I am that we were awarded the grant for the project that we have been working on. I know that Dennis and Daryl and Kyle, all of you guys have worked on that for a really long time, and I'm really excited that we're going to be able to get that started soon. Then I do have, Daryl already kind of mentioned about the graphs that we have in our packet, so I don't think I could say it any better than he did, based off of the utility board and everything that's going on with the hydro and the electric and all of that. I'm really proud of our workers for their due diligence and where we came in on that. We are looking at electric charging stations. We're working on incorporating those. Then the utility board is also going to be making a recommendation to implement a fee for the recycling bins, and we are going to see an ordinance for that coming up on a council packet in a meeting. I have one concern. I did receive an email. Do we have an ordinance concerning brush piles in yards?
We do
Dennis
in
is shaking
regards
his
to,
head.
yeah, Dennis, come on up, but we do in regards to nuisance
Yeah.
issues.
This person is saying that they've been looking at the same pile on a residential property for over a year, and they didn't allude to exactly where they were located, and I will get a little bit more information, but I wasn't sure if we did have something.
Yeah, if they can just call in to
Okay.
myself or Casey,
Okay,
have them give us the address and we'll address it.
all right, excellent. Thank you. And I think that's all.
All right, thank you. And, yes, ma'am.
If I may, I had
Or yes,
one
sir.
item that I forgot to mention earlier. With the splash pad being down, and I know that it's not an exact match, but is there an opportunity for maybe there to be a discounted rate at the swimming pool over the next couple of weeks or something until the splash pad? Is that something we could consider, just some opportunity to assist? I know the splash pad is free and offering a discount at the pool, and there's a lot different between the splash pad and the pool usage, but it might be an opportunity there just to show some appreciation to the citizens of some sort.
Renee's pointing something out to me. Go ahead.
So I was going to speak on this during the announcements.
Oh.
We are going to have free admission this weekend, Saturday and Sunday at the pool, because of the splash pad. And so that, and it's hot, so to make certain that people have accessibility. I can pick up the other part with Clay, but
No, that's
I'm
great.
hoping, praying that the part comes in, so, but
Yes.
if it doesn't come, I don't think that's an outrageous thing to consider, but let's see what
That's a good
happens.
idea.
Great, wonderful, thank you.
People have been pretty patient with us, and I think everyone realizes that our hands are tied. So we can't open it up if it's not safe and sanitary, and so it just is what it is.
Mr.
Friday,
Mayor?
Saturday and Sunday, free swimming, man, I may come out. Yes, ma'am.
I know we're in the home stretch. Can we take a 5-minute break?
Sure. Yeah, we'll
Great.
take a
Thank you.
5-minute break, guys, if y'all don't mind. Okay, we'll
Thank
get
you.
started again. You're very welcome. All right, next up, we have resolutions. Councilman Washington is not here, but we will have, who are we going to have present this? Yours
Read that
truly.
one? Yep.
Courtney's going to present
Leave me.
resolution number 3452, and I will step out front while she.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
If I could, please, just back on the pool open for the weekend. Just want to add to that, at least hopefully we look into the lifeguard situation to make sure we have plenty of people for oversight, because there could be
Yes.
hundreds of people there, and
Yeah.
none of us want to see a kid get injured, so it might be something we're following up. Make sure we have the resources to support a full packed house over the weekend. It could be a lot of people. Thank you.
All right, very good. Yeah, you good?
All right. Resolution number, I am going to read the whole thing, so yes, we can go ahead and rise. All right, resolution number 3452. A resolution honoring Jack McBride by ceremonially designating a portion of West 9th Street in the city of Fulton, Missouri as Jack McBride Way. Whereas Jack McBride served in the United States Navy during World War II, he returned to Fulton and dedicated his life to civil rights advancement in our community through numerous noteworthy efforts. Jack was a founding member of the Fulton NAACP chapter and served as chapter president for 40 years. He led the movement for desegregation of Fulton public schools and played an instrumental role in the integration of Fulton businesses and educational institutions. And whereas Jack created and developed the Youth Life Improvement Association, an organization focused on providing opportunities for training, mentoring, and life skill programs to countless young men, women, and their families. Jack's ability to provide and obtain funds and support for Fulton's youth to continue post-secondary education is noteworthy. And whereas Jack served in countless roles throughout his more than 80 years as a member of Calvary Missionary Baptist Church, he is regarded as a church treasure due to his lifelong love and support of the ministry and involvement in the community. Now therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Fulton, Missouri as follows. Section 1. The mayor and city council hereby ceremonially designate West 9th Street between Westminster Avenue and Jefferson Street as Jack McBride Way, as a testament to Jack's lifelong dedication to seeking and ensuring justice and equality for all. Section 2, the city clerk of the City of Fulton, Missouri shall enter this resolution on the Journal of the Council and shall deliver a duly certified copy thereof to the said Jack McBride. And if we can get a motion and a second?
I move for adoption of resolution number 3452 at tonight's meeting.
Second.
All right,
Can we
and
uncover
any
the sign?
discussion on that? All right, all those in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
And any opposed? Thank you. I thought you were, yeah.
Yeah. Need help knocking it over? Good job.
And Jack couldn't be here tonight, but I'm going to go see Mr. Jack, where he lives at, and we'll present this to him. Get a photo op.
Yeah, family, go right
Ladies,
ahead.
come on
We'll
up.
have you guys come on up.
Please. Yeah, you're good. He's definitely a treasure in the community. Yes, he is.
And I did want to point out,
Thank you
I did
for
want to point
sharing
out
with
too,
us.
Councilman Washington couldn't be here tonight, so he wanted me to just convey, this is incredibly important to him, and Bob has spearheaded this effort and worked really hard with Kyle and with you guys as a family. So he was sad he couldn't be here tonight, but he will be there when we present the signs and the resolution to your dad.
Ladies, you can stay if you want, but you're not, it's not required. You're very welcome
Or
to
you can
stay.
go if you want. You're tired.
Well, we appreciate all the efforts that went into that. Wonderful. I couldn't think of a more appropriate way to honor that guy. So, all right, moving on. Resolution number 3453, if you would, Councilman Stone.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Resolution number 3453, a resolution authorizing the mayor on behalf of the city of Fulton, Missouri, to sign all necessary documents in relation to a settlement with Beth, Reddy, Armstrong, and Scott Armstrong. I make a motion to adopt resolution number 3453 at tonight's meeting.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
And opposed, no. Very good. Ordinances next up. We have bill number 1644, if you would, Councilman Luther.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Bill number 1644, an ordinance authorizing the mayor on behalf of the city of Fulton, Missouri, to sign all necessary documents in relation to the cooperative agreement for K-9 basic training services with the Boone County Sheriff's Office. I'll make a motion to place bill number 1644 for a second reading at the next regularly scheduled council meeting.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and I see Chief Ladwig is here to fill us in on this, or give us a...
Well, sir, as we move forward with the K-9 program, this is the agreement that we would have with the Boone County Sheriff's Office for the training of the K-9 that will be selected on Monday, July 11th, when we go to Pennsylvania to choose who the new K-9 officer will be, the dog itself. We know who the handler will be. But this is an 8-week program that is done in Boone County, which offers the state and national certifications for the dog, which is required by MIRMA as well. The first 3 to 4 weeks, it will just be the handler, Deputy Smith, working with the dog, and then when the actual class starts, our handler, Officer McCauley, will be working with that dog each and every day for the next 8 weeks after that.
And while those folks are training, are we having to fill in the gaps for their normal duties here?
We will have those covered with minimal or no overtime.
Okay, gotcha. Awesome. Anxious to see that progress forward. All right.
When one is chosen, I'll send you a picture.
Awesome. I'm sure you will. All right, any questions or discussion on that? I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
And opposed, no. All right. Next up, we have bill number 1645, if you would, Councilman West.
All right, thank you. Okay, Bill 1645, ordinance repealing section 42-1, wards designated, polling places, Fulton City Code, and enacting new legislation in lieu thereof. I move for make a motion to place bill number 1645 for second reading at the next regularly scheduled council meeting.
Second?
Very good. And we have a little bit of an update here on that.
Yeah, just in general terms, you guys have had this information for a little bit, and you have a copy of the maps. Richard Elkenrath, he basically made some amendments to ensure that each ward remains equal in population based off the 2020 census information. So you have some close-up maps, and then you have an overall proposed map that shows you all 4 wards. There was some points that a few of you had made, and those were looked into, but again, to keep population equal, the proposed maps remain the same.
Gotcha. Well, we appreciate you looking into that and the effort that went into that, so looks like it's as good as it can be. Any other questions or other discussion on this? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
And opposed, no. All right, that'll move on for second reading. Next up, bill number 1639. Councilman Combs, please.
Bill number 1639, ordinance of the City of Fulton, Missouri, authorizing the city to participate in the Missouri Firefighters Critical Illness Trust and Pool, and further authorizing the mayor to execute documents as may be necessary for the city's participation therein. I make a motion to place bill number 1639 for third reading at tonight's city council meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We did hear about this at our last meeting, and I believe everyone was present. Are there any other questions or concerns on this? We would like to try to move that forward if possible at our third reading tonight. So if there's any questions, let's get them out there. Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
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 And opposed, no. All right, if you would again, please.
Bill number 1639, an ordinance of the City of Fulton, Missouri, authorizing the city to participate in the Missouri Firefighters Critical Illness Trust and Pool, and further authorizing the mayor to execute documents as may be necessary for the city's participation therein. And I make a motion to place bill number 1639 for final passage at this meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
And opposed, no. All right, you've all heard the bill read 3 times. At this time, Madam Clerk, if you would take roll call for final passage.
All right, Mr. Luther?
Yes.
Ms. Nelson?
Yes.
Ms. Reclue?
Yes.
Ms. Sabacher?
Yes.
Mr. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. West?
Yes.
And Mr. Combs?
Yes.
7 council members affirmative and 1 absent.
Very good, thank you. All right, next up, we have bill number 1640 that was scheduled by Councilman Washington. Lauren, would you mind reading that one for us?
Sure. Bill number 1640, an ordinance repealing section 2-362, competitive bidding, subsection 9, Fulton City Code, and enacting new legislation in lieu thereof. I make a motion we place bill number 1640 for a third passage at tonight's council meeting.
Second?
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? We did hear about that last meeting and kind of got the details on that. So, yeah. All right, hearing no discussion, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
And opposed, no. And if you would again, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, sorry. Bill number 1640, an ordinance repealing section 2-362, competitive bidding, subsection 9, Fulton City Code, and enacting new legislation in lieu thereof. I make a motion we pass bill number 1640 at tonight's council meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
And opposed, no. All right, we've all heard the bill read 3 times. At this time, Madam Clerk, if you would take roll call for final passage.
Okay, Ms. Nelson?
Yes.
Ms. Reclue?
Yes.
Ms. Sabacher?
Yes.
Mr. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. West?
Yes.
Mr. Combs?
Yes.
And Mr. Luther?
Yes.
7 affirmative and 1 absent.
Very good. All right, next up, bill number 1641, and if you would again, please, Ms. Nelson.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Bill number 1641, an ordinance authorizing amendments to the City of Fulton budget for the fiscal year 2021 as outlined by Article 8, Financial Procedure, Section 8.8, Amendments after adoption, Paragraph C, Transfer of Appropriations, Fulton City Charter, and establishing an effective date. Make a motion, we place Bill number 1640 for a third reading at tonight's council meeting.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I wasn't at the last meeting, so one of the things on the list is on finance, over on credit card charges. I thought we passed that on to the, is that for utility payments? I thought we usually pass that on. I thought there was a fee.
You're talking about folks that charge to us or from us?
That is that we were over on the expense. We had budgeted $30,000, and I think it came in at 63. That's not to say there's not an offsetting revenue.
Okay.
But the expense line is what the amendment takes care of.
Understood. All right, thank you. But that's what it is. It's for people.
It's
folks that
credit
pay
card
these-
charges for people who pay both online and in person at City Hall.
Okay.
Now, if you come into City Hall and pay with a debit card, we're not allowed to charge you the percentage because it's a face-to-face utility transaction. We can charge online on both debit and credit.
So if people direct pay from their checking account,
There's no charge
there's no
involved
charge
at
there?
all.
So is there,
Yeah.
do we have that set up, possibility for people?
We try to get everyone who's interested to allow us to draft their account
Yeah,
because that's actually the most beneficial for the customer.
right.
Yeah,
And us.
I do
Right.
too.
Right. Okay,
Yeah.
all right, thank
That
you.
way you're never late.
Right.
That and level billing, boy, everybody ought to be doing both of those.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. Yep.
Okay, thank you for that.
All right, any other discussion on that? All right, hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
And opposed, no. And if you would again, sir.
Yes.
Or ma'am, I'm sorry. I was here for like, oh boy, I got the look.
Bill number 1641, an ordinance authorizing amendments to the City of Fulton budget for the fiscal year 2021 as outlined by Article 8, Financial Procedure, Section 8.8, Amendments after adoption, Paragraph C, Transfer of Appropriations, Fulton City Charter, and establishing an effective date. Make a motion, we pass Bill number 1641 at tonight's council meeting.
Second.
All right, thank you. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
And opposed, no. You've all heard the bill read 3 times. At this time, Madam Clerk, if you would take roll call for final passage.
All right, Ms. Reclue?
Yes.
Ms. Sabacher?
Yes.
Mr. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. West?
Yes.
Mr. Combs?
Yes.
Mr. Luther?
Yes.
And Ms. Nelson.
Yes.
7 affirmative and 1 absent.
Very good. Next up, Bill number 1642, Councilwoman Sabacher.
Yes, sir. Bill number 1642, an ordinance reclassifying under the zoning code tracts of land located at 2 Arrow Street and 1302 Coates and Desson Road in Fulton, Missouri, and establishing an effective date. I make a motion to place Bill number 1642 for third reading at tonight's council meeting.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. We did hear this, about this last meeting. As far as I know, there's no opposition or controversy on this. Are there any questions or discussion? All right, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
And opposed, no. All right, and if you would again.
Bill number 1642, an ordinance reclassifying under the zoning code tracts of land located at 2 Arrow Street and 1302 Coates and Desson Road in Fulton, Missouri, and establishing an effective date. I make a motion to place Bill number 1642 for final passage at tonight's meeting.
Second?
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
And opposed, no. All right, you've all heard the bill read 3 times. At this time, Madam Clerk, if you would take final roll call.
All right, Ms. Sabacher?
Yes.
Mr. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. West?
Yes.
Mr. Combs?
Yes.
Mr. Luther?
Yes.
Ms. Nelson?
Yes.
Ms. Reclue?
Yes.
7 affirmative and 1 absent.
Very good. Next up, Councilwoman Sabacher, again, if you wouldn't mind, bill number 1643.
Yes, sir. Bill number 1643, An ordinance reclassifying under the zoning code a tract of land located at 1300 Coates-Sandesson Road in Fulton, Missouri, and establishing an effective date. I make a motion to place Bill number 1643 for third reading at tonight's council meeting.
Second.
Very good. We have a motion and a second. And again, this was discussed last meeting. I don't think there's anything controversial or no opposition on this. Are there any questions or discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
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 And opposed, no. And if you would again.
One more time. Bill number 1643, an ordinance reclassifying under the zoning code a tract of land located at 1300 Coates-Sandesson Road in Fulton, Missouri, and establishing an effective date. I'll make a motion to place Bill number 1643 for final passage at tonight's meeting.
Second?
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
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 And opposed, no. And Madam Clerk, if you would take final roll call.
Okay, Mr. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. West?
Yes.
Mr. Combs?
Yes.
Mr. Luther?
Yes.
Ms. Nelson?
Yes.
Ms. Reclus?
Yes.
Ms. Seebacher?
Yes.
7 affirmative and 1 absent.
All right, thank you all very much. That concludes our ordinances. Last, we have announcements. One thing I would like to say is thank you to our folks that put on the street fair. We had tons of volunteers sitting up here in the audience. We have staff that have worked their butts off to make that happen again this year. And as far as I know, it went off wonderfully. We have folks that work from the county that volunteer. It's just tons of people really put their heart and soul into this, and I appreciate every one of them. So,
Mr. Mayor, I have some.
yes,
No
ma'am.
storms.
I'd like to thank you. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Oh, on the, yeah, the CAFR.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, the CAFR, yeah. Very good, absolutely.
And everyone involved, thank you.
Yep. She's got a great staff there, so. All right, our next city council meeting will be held Tuesday, July 12th. A work session will commence at 6:30 with a regular session to follow at 7. We do not have a need for executive session tonight, so I would entertain a motion.
I move for adjournment.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All righty, thank you all.